Today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle, and it's a dangerous precedent. The public has a right to know the answer about what happened on January 6th before they are asked to vote again this year. Once again, it will depend on the character of the men and women who hold that presidency that are going to define the limits of the power of the presidency. The American people must decide if they want to entrust the president once again, the presidency, to Donald Trump, now knowing he'll be even more emboldened to do whatever he pleases whenever he wants to do it. I concur with Justice Sotomayor's dissent today. Here's what she said. She said, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote. So should the American people dissent. I dissent.
I promised we go to Perth, Australia. Joe Siracusa is there. Joe is the Dean of the Global Futures Department at Curtin University. Joe, thank you so much for your time. I mean, who are we to argue against the legal judgment of the US Supreme Court? So give us the political take on this.
Well, the political take is the court came down just about where it's almost always been. That is, while the president is in office conducting official acts, he can do pretty much what he wants. And, in many respects, I think Joe Biden should be very happy. No one can accuse him of aiding and abetting criminal activities in Gaza. He's helping a war criminal kill tens of thousands of children under the auspices of national interest or national security. And so he's not going to be responsible. I mean, in my lifetime, one president lied about getting into Vietnam. Another one lied about getting out of Vietnam. George W. Bush lied about getting into Iraq in the second Gulf War. And there it goes. These people can do all kinds of murderous things and not be accountable. And, my favorite is when they kill foreign citizens on foreign soil. And these extrajudicial murders, I mean, this is just murderous conduct. So anyway, the court's saying, look, the president officially can do what he wants. Now, he can't go out in Pennsylvania Avenue and start shooting people and stuff like that. But this doesn't really much move the dial, except for one thing, as your little package showed, is that it delays this trial. This so-called insurrection. By the way, I don't believe it was an insurrection. I believe and I watched the whole day closely. It was simply a protest that morphed into a riot. I mean, if there was going to be an insurrection, would anyone invite Donald Trump to it? He's the wrong guy. He's not very organized about that kind of thing. And look, both these impeachments are the fantasy of Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House at the time. And as soon as the House had 218 majority, they decided to go after Trump on both occasions. They failed on both occasions. And I think in this sense, the Supreme Court is recognizing that the decision to go after this guy is sort of political. And the idea that President Biden should stand up and stand behind one of the appointees about what she's recommending, et cetera, it seems ridiculous to me because it's not a separation of powers. It's actually leaning on them. But look, Trump's had a very, very good day, because he's not ever going to go to trial on this. And Biden has had a good, bad day because, all of his crimes in office. What happens one day if he's admitted as a war criminal? Are we going to turn him over? Is that a private act or a public act that he engaged in these kinds of things? So it gets a little complicated. But, it is a nuanced decision. Most Americans aren't going to pay much attention about it. They're still swooning over Joe Biden's performance when he choked during the presidential debate.
How legitimate are the concerns, do you think, of people who are worried that this Supreme Court judgment will affect what Donald Trump does if he wins the White House again? Because he has spoken repeatedly, and you know it very well, Joe, about the revenge that he is going to extract on the people who have crossed him.
Well, I'm not going to say that he's not angry. I'm not going to say that getting even with people. But I don't think he's going to be engaged in criminal conduct as soon as he gets in office. I think his critics are just a little over-worried because I'll tell you what, and that's all they got now, is they're saying right now that we can't elect this guy because of what he's going to do in the future. I don't know if you remember the movie Minority Crimes, but you can't convict somebody for something they haven't done in the future. Now, I don't think Donald Trump's going to go that way, as a matter of fact. Because when you are president of the United States, you don't really have to commit crimes. You're always going to get your way as long as it looks official or even semi-official.
I watch Tom Cruise movies. You know that. Thanks so much, Joe.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you very much.